Hello, everybody. We are live. I see some people already falling into the chat. In case you are wondering who I am, my name is Antonio Bryce. I am the creator of the comic book series Brand. We are on Indiegogo right now. We raised over $73,000. That's a lot of cheddar. All right. But if you want to read the first 21 pages of Brand, I have a link to it in the description, or you can just type in cardpress.com, take you to the page. You can check everything out. I have another creator here. He's got a cool looking book called Seven Legions. It's on Indiegogo now. It's been up for a little over a week now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Beacon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
All right. Good to have you here. So let's get into it, man. Tell me about your book.
Yes, it's a sci-fi fantasy historical fiction space epic. It's like if you combine Star Wars with Skyrim and they crossed over with an Akira Kurosawa film.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a story of an orphan who becomes a samurai and takes on a galactic threat. Picture it like if Tatooine was like Earth. If Earth was Tatooine, Luke was a Jedi, and Luke was a samurai, and they were instead of the Force, it was telepathy and all that.
Okay. All right. Let me actually pull this thing up because I want people to see it and see what we're working with here. All right. So let's get into Seven Legions. And all right. So like I said, you've been up a little over a week now. You've got 17 backers. You're at $825. Nice little color job on this art here. Who's your colorist?
I'm the colorist, and the artist on that piece was Henry Ponciano. He's the artist for Tinseltown by Alterna.
Okay. So he's drawing the book, or
it's the book is actually split into two sides. There's the memories of a character named Azrakal. He's an angel who served the Seven Legions, which is a galactic peacekeeping force, and his memories will be drawn by Henry Ponciano. And there's the journey of Hiko, the orphan who becomes a samurai, which will be drawn by Pablo Romero in his anime style.
I like Pablo Romero's art. I know he did. I think he did a pinup from Magic Cop.
Yeah.
I was like, and I had those guys on. So let me see. Let's actually scroll down and get into it. Now I've seen this piece before, and I'm pretty sure this was shown on John Malin's channel. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's right. This piece is depicting. You got Hiko at the top in the red armor, and you got. That's him as an adult. At the start of the story, he'll be a kid, and then he gets adopted into the Omi family, which serves the Azai clan, which is in Japan's period of civil war. They were one of the smaller clans, but so beneath him is Osora, his adoptive mother, who is a kunoichi, a female ninja. And beneath her is her shadow, or her cousin, Kade. And beneath her is Hiko's adoptive father, Omi Yoshinobu.
Oh, okay. So they all got you got names of everybody.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Like that. Let's see. Oh, okay. So you got the first 5 pages of issue number 1 up.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. Looking at this. So you wrote this and you're acting as the colorist on this as well?
Yeah.
Okay. I like this. All right.
Yeah, this was issue 1 was partially drawn by a different art team because some of them had to quit, but fortunately one who had to quit, he was doing the dream sequence, so I was able to work that into since it's like a dream/memory. His mental, Hiko, who's having the dream, his mental state is sort of affecting the way it appears. So,
okay.
And it's unfortunate that artist had to quit because I liked his style because it was kind of like if you crossed narwhal style with anime, which is really interesting.
Okay, let me ask you this: who's doing your letters?
That'd be me.
Okay, so you're lettering this, you're coloring it. Oh, well, this is a true indie artist.
Yeah.
Ooh, this looks interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I sort of color code the speech bubbles to sort of like because a lot of the time the character's gonna be wearing helmets, so like with those uniforms there, you can tell that they're very very similar. So instead of so like with the speech bubbles, you'll be able to tell even when they're like in full combat who's who.
Okay, I see this young lady, nice cleavage. I see that. That definitely catches my attention. Okay.
Yeah, when I did the concept art for them, I was like, it's like they're supposed to be sort of sexy and all that, and like he drew them.
Hey, I'm not complaining, brother. I'm happy. All right, I see you right there. So I'm like, and that's what's so I hate a lot of these modern comics now because they'll cover them up and make the breast size smaller. When I was a kid, and going through puberty right during that bad boy era or the bad girl era when they had like Lady Death, She, they had all those cool comics like that. Psylocke was, Jim Lee was, doing the X-Men. He'd always just draw Psylocke just looking badass. Everyone, him, Mark Silvestri just drew beautiful women, and now they're like tomboys. So yeah, when I see this, I was like, oh, that stands out. All right, she's got a healthy bosom. I like that.
Yeah, and they're like, the thing about kunoichis is they use that historically they use that sort of thing to their advantage.
Oh, it's like to distract them while they're So it's like I got you because I don't know though. When I see the knife, when I see the blade coming out, I might be like, wait a minute, I was okay. I'd be like, I don't know if I should be afraid or try to catch one. But I like this. So let me go back up here. I want to talk about your perks. Okay, so you got a featured perk here for $50. What's your shipping gonna run like on this?
I set the domestic for $5, international for $25. Yeah,
the $5 is that because most of my backers are U.S. backers, but
yeah.
Just let me see what you get here. You get the 7 Legions books. Okay, so there's more than one book. How many books are in this perk? It looks like you got 2 books and a print.
Yeah, so initially you're going to get the issue 1, which is 20 pages, and issue 2, which is 30. And then you'll start off with 1 print. But as we reach stretch goals, we'll gradually unlock more prints. So like that picture right beside that listing, the one that John Malin EVS reviewed, that's going to be the second print we unlock. And then if we reach all our stretch goals, you'll get 6 prints. And I got a few artists I'm talking to draw it. I'm not ready to announce anything until I get the art in.
Right. I got you.
But yeah, I got a good crew brewing.
Okay. So let me see. So let me drop down. So if you just want, I guess, a physical copy. Now I'm seeing in your picture here, you got two books in this too for 20. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's the issue 1 and issue 2. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention with the books, we'll also unlock more books through stretch goals as well. So yeah, if we reach all the stretch goals, you'll get up to issue 5.
So just because like I said, you said $5 US shipping, and you got 2 books here. You can get issue 1 and 2, signed, or is it not signed in this perk? Because I told the fitting ones.
Yeah, all books that I ship out are gonna be signed.
Okay, good.
And anyone and all backers will get their name on the thank you page.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whew. I remember Mike did that with the Lone Star thing. So yeah, it was and it was kind of cool when I opened it up to see my name in there. It was nice. So
also through stretch goals we'll be unlocking swag items like bookmarks, trading cards, dog tags, bomber patches, just depending on how high we get.
I got you. I got you. Let me go back up. I want to see how much are you actually trying to raise. Okay, your goal is 3,000, so you're about a third of the way there.
Yep.
So you're on track. You can make it happen. You got what 37 days left, and then let me go. Okay, yeah. So the next perk, Enemy of the Legions. It's $100. I see one of them's been claimed already. It says get drawn in the comic as an enemy of the Seven Legions and receive all physical tiers.
Yes.
It's Seven Legions book, the Prince, or however many you unlock, and be an enemy of the Legion. So I like that.
Yeah. So like the first one to claim was I was talking about what they'll be drawn in as. Issue 2, the memory is of a war of a battle to free the goblins from the orcs, and they're all drop shipping down. There's an orc commander ordering his soldiers around. Then all of a sudden, a dwarf on a jetpack comes from the dropship. He's axe in hand, screaming, ready for battle, and beds that thing right in the middle of your skull. So that was the first. That was the first one to be claimed, and then yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So let me see here. Okay, so we've got people in the chat. Let's see. Sky says the book looks awesome. All right, and then we've got a question from Wendy B. And she says, which version of a name are you putting on the thank you page? I know some of these people have like, they're like kill Mobber 42-7 or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
See, I will put out an email before we after we finish up, like when we're doing the final stages. If you got a pseudonym you want to use, or like I'll probably go with the Indiegogo name, or if I hear nothing back. But yeah, if you want to be mentioned if you want to be listed by your pseudonym or anything, I'll send out an email asking for that.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Wendy B says, I don't want my last name listed. I got you.
Yeah. So that'll be, yeah. If you don't, whatever name would it be listed as.
Let's see. Okay. So let me see. Soldier of the Seven Legions. Let me see. This is 150. It says be a soldier in the Seven Legions and get all the physical tiers. Let's see, the Seven Legions books, which right now is definitely 2. It could be up to 5. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay, and then you get the Prince, which as the stretch goals unlock will be more than just the 1. And then you get to be a soldier of the Legion for 150.
Yeah, you'll get drawn in as a soldier, and when you select that perk, there'll be a menu to choose which race of soldier you want to be listed as. There's human, angel, elf, dwarf, goblin, and a few others.
Oh, okay. So let's get into it. Okay, this is your big perk right here, Legend. It's $500, and you only got 1. So what is it? It says to appear as a character of significance in the issue with the opportunity to appear in future issues. Backers of this tier will also receive all lower physical tiers. So the book's the Prince, and you get drawn into the book. And it is, you get drawn into the book and actually get to do something. As opposed to just a cameo, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Depending on if it's the gender of whoever selects this perk, if it's a man, if it's a guy, I got a role picked out for them. If it's a girl, I got a role picked out for them. Both of which will be, they'll be big characters to the story. And just depending on which one it is.
Right. Wendy B says your book looks beautiful. By the way, that is fantastic.
Thank you.
And thank you for hanging out in the chat, Wendy. We like having you here. Right. So, okay. So let's go to the beginning. How did this come in? How did you get this idea? What made you want to create this? What, like a young Michael as a child? What was Michael reading? What was Michael reading?
like when I first started writing this, it was like senior year of high school. I had just written a novel that was about 600 pages. It was a samurai novel, purely historical fiction. But yeah, if I admit now, it was pretty shit. But but yeah, this like I started writing this as a sequel. It was set years, like centuries later, and it was just the story of a Ronin who was trying to find out who his real family was, and then it sort of became a supernatural historical fiction, and it became sci-fi fantasy after I saw the first few episodes of the Ancient Alien shows. Is like, this is kind of bullshit, but it's kind of cool too. And it's like it sort of evolved from there, sort of, and then right before I started writing the scripts for this, I had it written out in novel form on my computer, ate the file. Like there were like huge chunks of the story just taken out. So like, I had to sit down and rewrite it, and I was like, rewriting as a comic script, and now it's where it is today.
That's actually kind of interesting because I had envisioned novel as like a brand as a novel and a screenplay. I thought maybe it could be like a movie, and then I was like, I'm just such a big comic guy. I was like, I definitely want some of those visuals in there. I want people to see it. And I knew I'm not an actor, but I saw the main character as me. So it's like I was like, okay, I'm putting myself in a comic. And so that really lended itself to being more of in a graphic novel type form. But hell, that was like 20 years ago, though. It's crazy to even think that I came up with this idea that long ago, and then it just took a little while to finally get everything in motion. So
yeah, for me it's about 13 years, I think. Yeah, since like senior year, I think, high school. That was crazy to think it's been that long though.
So were you into comic books or anything? What did you read when you were coming up?
As far as comics, I started off reading Spawn because my parents didn't realize that not all comics were for kids. So I was reading that sort of stuff in about first grade. And then like, my brothers they'd all get Spider-Man and all that, and I'd read that too. And X-Men, pretty much the usual, just whatever we could get a hold of. But I was really into Star Wars for like sixth grade and on through high school. I had actually written a screenplay for a Star Wars thing when I was in seventh grade, and once again that was pretty shit. But
well, like you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like it looks like you figured some of it out. So it was like I definitely was reading Spawn myself, and I know issue 300 came out this past Wednesday. It's got like 10 variant covers. So I saw a couple of the comic book sites that I follow, and they were offering deals where you could get all 10 covers or something. So it's like little group packs and stuff. So thought about making a purchase just because I'm a big Todd McFarlane fan. So it's like I would, I always hoped I would get to meet Todd one day. It's like just, big fan of his. But so you didn't read anybody else? No, just so like sounds like some Image stuff. Sounds like.
Yeah, it's like just Image and a lot of Marvel stuff. I remember there was one comic I got, like Scarlet Spider. I got that at one point.
The clone stuff. No.
Yeah, like it's just one issue of that. Just like it was pretty much just like anytime we go to the store where they had comics, we get to pick one out, and it's like whatever looked cool on the shelf. It's like, oh hey, it's a different version of Spider-Man. That's awesome. And I picked it up and
I gave it a chance, and that's what's so funny. And when you go in my long box, I probably got about, because it was only supposed to be, I think it was only supposed to be like about a 6-month story, and the payoff was obviously supposed to be Ben Reilly replaces Peter Parker, and Peter Parker goes off with Mary Jane and has their baby, and then everything's done. And then it was selling, and so it's like someone wrote a big like 11-part blog, and they broke it down. They broke the entire Clone Saga down and made me look at it different. But I stopped reading Spider-Man for over a decade because of the Clone Store. It was just maybe I didn't come back until J. Michael Straczynski. He had already been in his run. And I started going and collecting the trade paperbacks and reading, and I was like, it's actually good Spider-Man. Oh God. But yeah, the clone stuff left a bad taste in my mouth. Although I was very excited when Dan Jurgens took over and they gave him what was it, Sensational Spider-Man? What it Web was? I can't remember the book he had. I've still got it. I've got the issue 1 of it. Had one of those what are the little chroma key whatever, where it moves when you it's like those baseball and basketball cards where it'll move if you so he had redesigned the Spider-Man costume and the whole thing. And I don't even think that book lasted. I don't know. He didn't last there very long. He went back to DC, I noticed. So I was like, it was kind of weird. They announced Dan Jurgens was going to write Spider-Man, but he's not writing Peter Parker. He's writing. So it's like, hey, you leave DC Comics. You're writing the Man of Steel, and you come over to write Marvel's biggest character, but you're not writing Marvel's biggest character. So you're writing the clone of Marvel's biggest character. So it's. I would love to ask him about that one day. Hopefully, I'll get the opportunity because I would very much like to know what that thought process. Because I actually liked his redesign. His redesign of the spider costume was actually pretty cool. Had a big black spider that was front, and I've seen other newer designs incorporate that. In matter of fact, it kind of looked like the Iron Spider suit that they had in the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, where, big front spider all the way around, except he had the outside web shooters, like the web cartridges on his arms. Yeah. It was kind of it's supposed to be, Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider suit had the different cartridges and stuff. He had the more of the outside type cartridges, and they tried to kind of make a hybrid of that look, I think. And I liked it, but at the same point in time, I like Peter Parker. Ben Reilly is definitely not my Spider-Man. It's like I want Peter Parker. So if I read Spider-Man, that's what I want. But yeah, but I definitely read a bunch of it. And then right there at the end, it was too much. Maximum clonage and some of the other. Yeah, it was some of the storylines they did, and then they brought the Green Goblin back after all the original Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. They brought him back, which he's still back, and they bring him back, but he's been like healing. Because I think in comic time, only like 5 years had passed. I think they were saying it's only been 5 years since the whole incident with the Jacqueline, the original clone, and Peter thinks that he had bumped off the clone or whatever, all that. So somewhere in that Norman Osborn, so it's only been 5 years, and Norman's been like, he's got a big gaping wound in his chest from when the Goblin glider, pierced him through the chest, but he needed to heal. And it was, that whole thing is convoluted. But he took the baby. I remember that. He stole Spider-Man and Mary Jane's baby, and they've never to this day explained. That baby has never been spoken of. He took the baby, and we don't know what that baby is. So I guess it just didn't happen. So I don't know if you were still reading at that time, but
for me, growing up, comics lasted maybe a week before one of my younger siblings would tear it up. So that was the sort of situation I had. Like I come from a big family. I'm like the fourth out of 11. And
oh wow,
yeah. So we had a lot of.
Well, all right, I like that.
We'd always have one little sibling running around tearing up our comics.
Well, yeah, trust me. I had my brother's kids would come, and I got to a certain point where I knew, he called. He's like, "Hey, I'm bringing Trey over." Blah blah blah. And when he let me know, I knew I had to go into like childproof mode. Certain things had to be put up because my room has things that I know would attract 2 and 3 year old kids. It's like they're like, "Oh, he's got like G.I. Joe action figures. Oh, he's got Star Wars figures. He-Man. Oh," and then so they're trying to grab my stuff, and I'm like, I've got stuff in like the boxes still. I was like, no, don't touch that, no, don't. And then it's like, my brother's like, well, he's a kid, man. He wants to play. I was like, I get that, but I mean, the stuff's worth money. I don't want anybody messing with it. I love my nephew, but please keep your grubby hands off. So that's not good. But yeah. But he just actually a couple weeks ago just had his 25th birthday, which was really cool. So he's all grown now, but I still kind of tease him a little bit. I was like, man, you used to come in and try to mess with my comics and stuff. Like he would grab one of my comics and I have him bagged and boarded. He'd be like, just put it in his mouth. And I was like, what are you doing? It was just but yeah, well, I mean, hey, gotta have kids. It's maybe why I don't. Maybe that's why I haven't bred yet. I don't know. Just I don't know. But what's that like growing up with? Because I know Ethan Van Sciver has a big family. I think he said 9 kids. I don't know, something like that. I mean, he got a lot of brothers and sisters, and so I'm curious, what's that like? What's that growing?
You couldn't leave anything where they could get to it. That's for sure. There's a lot of, don't treasure things too much because you're gonna lose it eventually. But I was at Bubba Fest a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. I know Tug was there. Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to meet him. Met Winger there, and
you met Tug. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I met Yellow Flash briefly. He was fully incognito. we were just waiting to hear his voice to be able to tell her.
Okay, so then he was walking around with the mask too. Okay, because I see Tug. I know Tug's got his mask all autographed and everything. He had all the little like different people autographing his mask and everything. So okay, so I didn't know. That's right. Yellow Flash did say he was going, but I didn't. I know Tug posts pictures, and a lot of fans had taken pictures with. I was like, damn, Tug is tall. I didn't realize Tug was so damn tall. Yeah. I was like, man, I was like, him and Doug Tenaple, I need them to play like basketball with me. I need like somebody post up. I was like, man, what's it like? The usual. What's the air like up there? It's like, man, Tug is a tall drink of water. But I saw he took a lot of photos with different people, and people were like tagging him and tweeting it out and stuff. So I was like,
when I was down there, I saw one of the old comics that I had at one point in like graded. I forget what that is.
A CGC.
Yeah, CGC or CGC thing. It was. Yeah, I saw the price on that. I was like, that's sitting my copy's sitting in a garbage heap because my younger brother or sister tore that to pieces. I was like, does that justify murder?
No, probably not. But I don't know. I've had a few comics that I've seen, end up trading them with different friends and stuff. And you don't realize that, 10, 15 years later, this is the first appearance of such and such or whatever. And I was like, I had that book. Oh, man, that's crazy. So I hate that. And I remember I had a bunch of old Star Wars figures, a bunch of old Masters of the Universe figures, G.I. Joe figures that you see them on eBay now. And even out of the box, they're $300 and $400 and $500. And I was like, I heard that. I let my nephew have it,
My older brothers and sisters, my older brothers had a bunch of those G.I. Joes, and they got either the younger brothers got a hold of them or the dogs did.
Man, I've spent way too much money on comics and video games and toys. I don't know. I don't know. I like that stuff. I like collecting everything. But just from talking to you, I definitely know you're into like anime and something like that, right? Because I mean, you got it, clearly you're doing like you're heavily influenced by that. So what all are you into on that?
I'm not really too into anime. Like I like One Punch Man. Cowboy Bebop was definitely a good one. Like that. The Ninja Scroll movie, that was pretty cool.
Ninja Scroll was dope. I love Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll was incredible.
That was actually a little bit of the inspiration behind the designs for Osora and Kayde in my story. And I watched the anime for a little bit, but didn't get into that one as much. Let's see, I did get into Bleach a while.
Akira?
And I never watched that. I've been meaning to watch that. Yeah, it's like I'd keep seeing it on the shelf, and like I've been hearing a lot more about that now, and it's just like, okay, now I need to watch it. But hey, Pablo,
what about? Yeah, I see. Yeah, Pablo Romero in the chat, and he contributed to this campaign. And you say he's doing the dream sequences in your book?
He's doing the continuing journeys of Hiko. Yeah, so that'll be like the real world, I guess. Yeah, so that's his contribution. He's doing pretty good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, both my artists are, they're fast. Yeah.
Well, that's good. So let me ask you that then. How far into it? Because it sounds like your book's almost done or pretty close to being done.
Issue 1 is done. Issue 2, we're I think about 5 pages in, but I'm just waiting to get the money to pay for other pages. I
got you.
Yeah.
Is your art being done traditionally, or your artists work digital?
I'm pretty sure they're both working digitally. I've been getting the digital files.
Well, I mean, the reason I was asking, I've noticed that some campaigns will put up original art for sale and stuff like that. So, or art commissions or any of that kind of thing. So I didn't know if that was something that you had pondered when you were trying to come up with a plan for crowdfunding.
Yeah, I did a secret perk for mailing list people. It was to get original concept art. I'd be doing the concept art on 11x17 Bristol board, and it basically be the equivalent if one day this story makes it big, it'd be like owning the first time the Green Goblin was drawn or something like that.
So okay, so because I know you say you're doing the lettering and you're doing the lettering, you're doing the colors, and you're the writer, but you're actually an artist as well.
Yeah, the reason I hired out art is because I'm decent. I'm just not good enough to do like a quality book.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like I do the character concepts just because people tend to like my character designs. That's what I've got a lot of feedback on. But as far as actually drawing it myself, it doesn't turn out too good.
Well, and that's another thing I would say. I've talked to some people, and they've contacted me and was like, okay, well, how do I find an artist? And one of the things I've mentioned is obviously look on like ArtStation, DeviantArt. I found Kanan on Instagram. That's where I found Kanan Whitehead on Instagram. And look at places like that, because Instagram especially has got a ton of artists that are building their Instagram pages up, just posting different work that they're doing. And, they'll be like, hey, my commission list is open, send me a DM. And they're just getting work like that, just working on Instagram and stuff. So
the first 2 artists I had on issue 1, I found them on DeviantArt. I put out a thread asking for people to submit. Actually, Henry Ponciano, I think he had replied to that, but his reply got buried, unfortunately. So I didn't wind up finding him until after the first guy had to quit. So, but yeah, he's been awesome, and I reconnected with him on Facebook on a CG Facebook group, and I'm not really sure if he is Comicsgate, but he is. He's not going to call us Nazis. That's
well, yeah, that's always a plus.
Yeah. Then Pablo, I contacted on Twitter, and now here we are.
Yeah, because I had been following Pablo. I think I haven't been following him. I've been following him on Twitter for a couple months, but I've been following him on the gram. I'm pretty sure, because I liked the way he used it looked like real retro style colors.
Yeah,
and kind of it was like I don't know. I saw something he did and it reminded me of Jim and the Holograms. And people always make fun of me when I tell them I love Jim. I love Jim. I agree. It was one of my favorite cartoons. Was like I watched all that stuff. All the I'm trying to remember, was that Sun something? I can't remember the animation company that did, because they did G.I. Joe. They did, they did Transformers, and it was like all those, because I remember they even did an episode of Jim where Cobra Commander was in it. And I was like, it was so cool at the end. And I'm trying to remember, because I know the guy that did the voice of Cobra Commander, he died. I think he got cancer. He died like 15, 20 years ago. I know the original voice of Cobra Commander. I love that guy. He was such a bad, and his voice was so distinctive when he did Cobra Commander. So I was like, I love G.I. Joe when I was coming up. So, whoo. I just so it was, I don't know, I saw something Pablo put up, and it kind of gave me like an 80s flashback, and I thought it was dope. I was like, yeah, man, I was just really, so yeah, he'd be someone interesting to possibly work with.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Go to the chat. Okay, Mr. K says a few of the comics seem to revolve around samurai or Asian influence, which is cool. And I was like, yeah, I know there's definitely people told me when they've been looking at some of the pages I've posted for brand that they can see, like a definite, like anime influence and stuff like that. And I was like, definitely, because that's, I was into stuff like that. I was into like Voltron and, was a G-Force, or what's that, Battle of the Planets? I know they call it Battle of the Planets in like Europe and stuff like that. But when I grew up, and I would go and, me and my brother watched G-Force. It's like I heard other people like, "Oh, you mean Battle of the Planets?" And I had no idea what they were talking about. I was like, "What's Battle of the Planets?" And then I saw, because someone actually sent me the link to the same intro, the G-Force intro, and they had just changed it, and it was like Battle of the Planets, and it was the exact same intro, except they had changed. They just changed the title graphic on it and everything. So, I was like, I had no idea that it was. I just thought it was G-Force, because I was like, that's what I was like. I remember G-Force and Speed Racer, Transor Z, Gundam Wing. That's
when I was in like middle school. I remember when Toonami was on. There were some animes on there. I don't remember the names of them, but when I saw Pablo's anime style, I was like, it just took me back to that. I was like, okay, this is the style we need to do.
Let's see. Pablo Romero R says, people often tell me that my stuff reminds him of Jim. And I was like, that's why I was like, I had a Jim flashback. That wasn't a bad thing for me though, because that was, again, Jim and the Holograms. That's why I was like, when they made that Jim movie, I think it was in 2016, and it was terrible. And I was excited. I was like, ooh, if they do this right, because I've got like a secret I'll probably make a ripoff of Jim and put it in brand. I'll probably, because I had mentioned to Kanan a while back. I have a kind of because one of the things that I had in brand is the search for cursed objects. I was a big fan of the television show Friday the 13th. And I know that was actually filmed in Canada, I think around Vancouver, Toronto area, around there somewhere.
I had no idea they even had a show.
You didn't?
Like a TV show?
You can actually find, it has absolutely nothing to do with Jason Voorhees, though. And from what I understood, just from researching, I was a big fan of the Friday the 13th television show, and I think they had at least about 60, 70 episodes, but don't quote me on that. But they had multiple seasons. I mean, it's like enough where it's syndicated, and you can still find it every now and again, like on Sci-Fi, and I think some of the streaming services have it. But I know it was filmed in Canada. They just happened to get the rights to the Friday the 13th name. I guess they negotiated with the company so that they could be like, hey, we want to do a TV show. It was supposed to be something else. The Friday the 13th show was supposed to be called something else, because basically there's the proprietor of this antiquity shop called Curious Goods. He had a vault, and in the vault was cursed items. They were all like cursed and bound to like demons or the devil or whatever like that. and he had made a deal with the devil, and he was selling these cursed objects. They were, to very select clientele. They would come in and say, "Oh, I want to do that," and I mean, it was everything in there. They had like books. They had, like a cursed comic book or whatever. There was someone they did one episode where there was a makeup compact, and you open it up, and the reflection from the mirror did something, and also there was a guy, and he was like a real ugly guy, and as you kill someone, the items need souls to charge them up and everything. There was like a ventriloquist dummy, there was all kind of things. The only nod they did to the Friday the 13th movie is they showed the Jason Voorhees hockey mask. So they kind of hinted that hockey mask came from Curious Goods, but they never made that's the only connection outside of the show being called Friday the 13th that it had. So if you're going there looking for Jason Voorhees, you're going to be very disappointed. But you will, I think, because like I said, I think they only did it on that one episode where they showed the hockey mask and they never talked about it again. You only saw Friday the 13th, the series. Now, at that same time, they had they had a Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street television show, and Robert Englund actually played Freddy Krueger on that. But it was like Tales from the Crypt. That's what it was, so he would be like, "Greetings, everybody." He'd come in, introduce the story, and then he do the little outro and everything after they, just like, I don't know if you ever watched Tales from the Crypt on HBO. I used to watch that show all the time with the Crypt.
Yeah, we used to watch that. My brother was terrified of the little Halloween mask.
So you get the concept. You come in, "Greetings, my kitties," and he'll come in and say something crazy, and then he open the comic book up. They go into the story. It ends, and then they come back out. I guess he needed to watch his head. And close the show. The Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street show was just like that. Like I said, they actually got Robert Englund to play Freddy Krueger on the Nightmare on Elm Street show. But it was just basically like that, because they had a bunch of those shows. Tales from the Dark Side. Let's see, I used to watch Tales from the Dark Side, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. That's I used to watch all the shows, and a lot of those shows were actually filmed in Canada. I guess that's what they were. Like I said, Friday the 13th was filmed in Canada. It wasn't filmed in the US, even though I think the Curious Goods store was actually in Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken. I think, at least on the show, I think it was, it was that kind of deal. But, they would just film around and just pretend like everybody was in the US and everything. But I loved the show. One of the main characters left, I think, in season 3, and it's kind of changed a little bit. I was like, oh, yeah, it's changed the character Ryan. But yeah, if you can actually see some clips of Friday the 13th, the television show, on YouTube. And that's one thing I love about YouTube. People just rip things, like, especially like old TV shows. What was it? There was an old show that I talked about last year called, I think it's called Starman. And basically, what was it? Desi Arnaz Jr. was in it. And it was, he was a computer programmer. This was like 1981. And he created this artificial intelligence, and somehow it came to life. He was able to, it was self-aware, and it was able to beam itself off of the web and come into real life. And then it had an assistant, a sidekick called Cursor. And Cursor could turn into a vehicle. It could turn into a motorcycle. It could turn into like a helicopter and fly and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, he would use like I think it was called Starman. But I'm like, I did a video on it about 8 months ago. It was crazy because the same guy that did that show worked on Magnum PI, and he worked on Knight Rider, which I definitely say Knight Rider is an influence on brand. I was a big fan of Knight Rider. So yeah, he did Magnum PI. He did the original Battlestar Galactica. The Fall Guy. That was another show I used to watch with Lee Majors, The Fall Guy, where he was that stunt man, which I heard they were going to bring that back. That was something I saw a couple months ago, that they were supposed to be bringing the Fall Guy back, it might be as a syndicated show or something like that. But I always loved the Fall Guy. Was a great show. I like the whole idea of a stunt man that's a bounty hunter. He would just go around on different things. But I was a big fan. I used to watch Lee Majors on $6 Million Man when I was a kid. So I was like, so that was. I don't know if any of that stuff was what you were into when you were a kid, or if you were able to even get the remote control with all your brothers and sisters.
I remember I used to watch a lot of Godzilla movies, and there's like when I was in kindergarten, there's a show called Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. It's like a ripoff of Power Rangers. I watched that.
I know. That's why I was like, I've heard of that. That's why I was like, I remember when Power Rangers. What's that other? There's another one, not Gundam Wing. Not the Guyver. I've seen so many of them because there was man. I wish some of the people in the chat that was into that. There was another live action show from Japan that they took, and I mean it was pretty much a Power Rangers ripoff or whatever they called it over there. Everybody forgets how popular and how powerful Power Rangers came out of nowhere in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it exploded. I mean, the toys, you couldn't get the toys flew off the shelves. I was like, Power Rangers nobody was expecting that to be as big of a hit as it was. So,
yeah, and that came out like right around the time I was like, when I was a little kid, we had there's this little tumor thing under my thumbnail. Actually, like after the surgery, it led to that, but my thumbnail being all weird. But yeah, because I was in the hospital so much back then, I got a ton of Power Ranger toys. That was, yeah, it's just pretty much all of them I had at the time.
Oh, I see James Hayes in the chat. That's the Fall Guy theme song. No, I love the Fall Guy was great. That's why I was like, I got excited when I heard that it was coming back. But like I said, I can't remember that guy's name, but like I said, he did the original Battlestar Galactica, which only lasted like a season. Because I actually had a Battlestar Galactica toy in like 1979 or 80 or whatever. And what was it? Dirk Benedict was on there, and he ended up playing Face on the A-Team and stuff. I really, really love that. Like I said, Fall Guy was a great show. I'm surprised. Glenn Larson, there you go. Thank you, James Hayes. I was like, yeah. But he came up with all that. Like I said, he was one of the co-producers on Magnum PI. A lot of great television shows in the 80s. But that Starman or Star something, I can't remember, with Desi Arnaz Jr., which was horrible. That show was actually horrible, but you can find full episodes of it. I've gone back, even though it's bad, I'll go back and I'll just sit there and watch. It's like, it's cheesy. It's like watching The Greatest American Hero. I don't know if you ever watched that show. It's like, oh, tell me, no, you didn't watch Greatest American Hero?
Not that I would remember. It was probably
or not, I'm walking on air.
The song sounds familiar. So it might have been.
Yeah. That was the theme song. It was like, yeah, he had the believe it or not, it's just me. And I was like, I loved it. But I thought that show was so funny because, the aliens they deemed him worthy. That's actually another concept that I think would work in today's television, where you've got an alien kind of like the Green Lantern Guardians of Oa, where they're watching Earth and they decide that we need a hero, we need a guardian. And so they send this special suit down and they give it to our protagonist. And he messes up, and that's one of the reasons it was so funny. He put the suit on and he couldn't make the suit work because he messed up and lost the instructions. They sent instructions with it. And so he lost the instructions, but he still had the suit. So he had to figure everything, because they had it set up where the instructions would work in whatever language you were reading. It's like whatever, so if it had landed in China, then the instructions would be legible in Chinese or whatever. It had some kind of universal translator. And I thought, and he'd be flying and he couldn't, because like I said, he was like, ah! And he was flying in the air and he's like crashing into buildings and stuff. He was like a bad hero. And I'm like, that sounds funny for a comic. That sounds funny for a TV show. I mean, it lasted what I think 3 seasons, 2.5, something like that, and they canceled it. I'm trying to remember the guy's mom that was in The Greatest American Hero. She was the secretary on Perry Mason. It was his, and then when they started doing the Perry Mason TV show movies, but his mother, I think it's William something, I can't remember, but his mother was the assistant on the Perry Mason TV shows back in the 60s and everything. So I was watching him, and I think he popped up on the Love Boat a couple times and stuff like that. It was like the Love Boat, and I think he was on the Partridge Family and everything. Your mom's an actress, so you just get in all this stuff. But yeah, Greatest American Hero was hilarious. When it didn't matter how many, like I said, through those seasons, he never really quite figured the suit out. It was like he couldn't fly. Like he'd try to fly and he's like, he's flying through the air all sloppy and everything. I always thought that was funny, and someone should buy the rights to the property, and then just make a comic book out of it, because I think it'd be very funny. I was like, if you play it right, I think that stuff like that would be pretty funny if the right writer would come in.
There was some Korean movie that I watched a few months back. I think it's called Psychokinesis. It's about some guy who gets the power of telekinesis. And he's like,
that title sounds familiar, but yeah, I don't know.
It's funny because like every time he's using, he's like straining and grunting. Like he's got like a dysfunctional family. He's like, he's trying to get custody back of his daughter, earn her respect back, and all that. And then, she finds out about his powers. And it's like, it doesn't look healthy. You really should get yourself checked out. It's like, what? My constipation's all gone now.
Oh.
He's like, at some point, he's like flying through the air, like trying to control himself. And he's like smacking into buildings, and
see, that's the thing, because like Greatest American Hero, the premise, he had a guy that was working with him. It was like an FBI agent. It was like this older guy, and he was like an FBI agent. And then he decided he didn't want to do the show. And the main actor that was the superhero didn't want to do the show anymore. And they decided to replace him with this woman. And so they passed the suit on to a woman, because they did this thing where the world found out that he was a superhero. And they found out his secret identity, so he couldn't be the superhero anymore. So he had to pass the super suit on it. I mean, it was Superman. It was the same stuff. It was like you shot him, it was bulletproof. He had super strength. I think he could turn invisible for a little while too. It was like he had all kind of different abilities. They just kind of made it up as he went along. They didn't. They were just like, okay, well, let's say he could do this. And the reason he didn't show that a power before was because he lost the instructions. And, because I remember when he finally, right towards the end, when he was about to leave, the aliens came back and, they talked to him, and they was like, why didn't you use the instructions we sent? And he didn't get, they was just like, we sent instructions with the suit so that anyone would be able to use it. The person we found that was worthy would be able to use it. And he was like, I lost the instruction. It was so funny, but I was like I say, you can find stuff like that on YouTube too. Greatest American Hero was hilarious. I thought it was like, I think, especially a network like the CW or something, they could take concepts like that and it would be extremely funny. I was like, I think shows like that have a place on television though. But oh man, let me take another look at your book here. Let me see where we, if anybody has shown you a little love. Let's see. We'll do a quick refresher on that and see if let's see if I can get it to actually work. Okay, it's refreshing now. And believe it or not. Okay, you're still at 825, but before we close out, I just want everybody to take a gander at this great color work you got here. And Michael, why don't you tell them, kind of run down again what the story's about, and if I'm a backer, why should I back your book?
All right, so I'll do the long pitch. The angel Azrael served the seven legions for 2,000 years and encountered many threats, traveled to many strange worlds, and served with valor, until he discovered a plot by three of the seven legions' greatest enemies to destroy them from within and overrun the allied empires they protect. However, before Azrael could warn the people of this new threat, he vanished, leaving only his memories behind and the dreams of Hiko, an orphan turned samurai, living in a time of chaotic civil war in Japan that would pit his clan against their former allies, leaving Hiko to choose between fighting the war that threatens his family that took him in, or facing off with the galactic threat he's destined to end when he barely knows his own world.
Okay. All right. Well, let me make sure let me get back on here. And okay. So, Michael, if I am a backer, or if I'm just interested, I think you're a cool guy and I want to chop it up with you. I want to see what you're doing on the interwebs. How could I find you? What's your social media?
I'm on YouTube as Michael Beacon. I do SJW Skeletor reviews.
I've seen that. Wait a minute. Yeah. I remember okay. Okay.
I do the Skeletor voice. Just a parody of SJW Spider-Man, kinda. And then on Twitter, it's the number 7 Legions Beacon. And yeah, I do have a website for 7 Legions, just 7legions.com, which it goes into the lore a good bit.
Oh, okay, cool. That's beautiful. Okay. So please, guys, if you happen to catch this, because I get a lot of repeat viewing. Sometimes people are doing things and then they'll come back and watch later. So if you are so inclined and you happen to like what you see here, and you just happen to think Michael is a cool guy and you want to show him a little bit of love, click on the link in the description there and go check out 7 Legions. And if you have a few extra shekels, think about throwing a little bit of support his way. But guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Michael, is there anything else you'd like to say before we close this out?
I guess one thing I think people might be intimidated by is the release date. That's a worst case scenario, July of next year. That's like if we fund all the books and just giving us a little bit of extra leeway. But yeah, there's a good chance we'll get done way sooner than that. So
I got you. Yeah, trust me on that. I underestimated the production time and some of the other things that go into getting these books out. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this video up. My thanks to Michael Beacon for being here today. But if you want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and right here on this YouTube channel everywhere is at Akari Press. And if you type in akaripress.com, it will take you directly to my Indiegogo campaign for my comic book series brand with the phenomenal Kanan White. We're on Teespring. We're on Amazon.com. The links to those are in the description. 7 Legions, guys. Get out there, back that. I'm out.